this is Brian Howe, formerly of Bad Company. You're listening to BackstageAccess.com, where the real show begins.
I'm Dee Haley with BackstageAccess.com, and I'm talking with Brian Howe, former lead singer for Bad Company, and also Ted Nugent. And Brian has just released a new album, Circus Bar. It's on Frontiers Records. And first off, we want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us today, Brian.
No problem. It's a great pleasure.
Now, it's been 13 years in the making for your latest solo release, and the songs for Circus Bar, I read, were mostly written in just a few days. How did the songwriting come together for you?
Well, it was a very strange period. It was, I wasn't going to make another record, you know. I figured the record business had passed me by, sort of thing, and I got a phone call totally out the blue from a guy called Serafino, who owns Frontiers Records, and he said, Brian, you should make a record, you know, and would you consider doing it for me, and I'll finance it. And I said, well, I hadn't really thought about it, Serafino, but I'll certainly consider it. And I gave it about 10 minutes thought, you know, and said, let's give it a shot, let's see if I've got anything left, you know. So we went off to Guatemala, to a little place called Lake Atitlan, and on the banks of Lake Atitlan, there's a beautiful little village called Panachel, and I hauled my producer down there to write songs for about 10 days. Well, as it happened, we sat down the first day and wrote 4 songs, and then we sat down the next day and we wrote another 4 songs, and then we wrote another 3 or 4 the next day, and we realized that in those 3 days we had enough songs already for an album, you know. So we kind of wasted the rest of our time by going to a beautiful little bar, a restaurant bar called the Circus Bar, which is how the whole thing came about, and that became of course, the title of the CD. But it was a very strange way to write songs, and I suppose what had happened is, because I hadn't made a record in 13 years, all the ideas that I'd had were circulating in the back of my mind somewhere, and they all came out in those 3 days, and it was very prolific and very surprising.
That's a great story. Now, how did you choose that spot in Guatemala? What made you go there?
Well, I've been going there quite often. I discovered it about 4 or 5 years ago, and it's the place that I want to move to. It's the place that I'm looking for property there, and I just feel at home there. It's very, it is a third world country and a third world town, you know, but it's very friendly. The people there are just so friendly and nice, and the cost of living down there is, you know, like not even a third of what it is in the U.S., and the property is so inexpensive down there. It's a nice way of life, you know. So I just kind of like going down there. I feel happy there, and so I go down there as much as I can. And this time I incorporated my love of the place with a wonderful songwriting too. So it was really cool, very nice.
It sounds rather inviting, the title.
You should come down.
I will. It'll be on my list of places to go. Now, I also heard that you had a couple of guests that came and helped you out on the album, Wayne Nelson from the Little River Band and Pat Travers. How did they get involved?
Yeah. Well, they're both good friends of mine, and I've known Pat for a long time. And in fact, Pat played in my band for a short time when he had nothing better to do. So he came in and played guitar with me for about a month. And I called him up when I was recording in Orlando, because Pat lives pretty close to Orlando, and he was kind enough to come over with his monocle in his eye, and he unplugged he unpacked his guitar, plugged it in. I think he was done in about an hour. Came in, played, put it away, and said goodbye. It was really fast, but it was really cool. It's good to see Pat. And then with Wayne actually did me the favor of he came down and stayed for about 4 or 5 days, and we just had a great time in the studio with Wayne, because he's so talented. He's such a great player. He's a really good singer too, and he worked out some of the harmonies for us, and played some great bass on some tracks, and he's a great guy. So we we've always got along very, very well. Whenever we do shows together with the Little River Band, we always have a great time, and it was just great to have those kind of people around as opposed to, the people I've worked with before in the business where we weren't getting along terribly well. With this organisation, everyone gets along. It's a good team.
I'm sure it's a little easier to work together that way.
It's always nice to have a happy attitude.
Exactly.
Happy thing going on.
Now, who is in your current lineup? Who's on Circus Bar? Who are the players?
The players on Circus Bar, there's so many, I can't remember all of them. We've got Dean Aker, who plays guitar. Brooks Pascal, the producer, plays guitar. Matt Brown, my drummer, is obviously playing drums on the CD. Miguel Gonzalez playing bass, along with Wayne Newt. Wayne Newt.
That's a good trick.
Wayne Newton wanted to come, but he was busy having his hair done. So we kind of just muscled through with those people. Luke David was really instrumental in putting together a lot of the keyboard stuff and the strings. He's a wonderful string arranger, and he's only about 12 years old. It's unbelievable. He's very young. I'm joking. He's actually about I think he's 20. He's a genius. He's an absolute marvelous guy, lovely guy, and that's basically the basis of the crew that put the record together.
And how did you choose who was going to be a part of this with you, or was it more of a record company kind of band put together?
No, the record company actually left me alone. They didn't have any input at all in what we did, and more power to them. It's nice to be working with people that are music people and not business people. I mean, I'm sure they are business people, but it seems that they trusted me enough to just go out and make a record without trying to tell me how I should do my job. And 10 out of 10 for Frontiers Records for doing that, because back in the day with Atlantic Records, they were very controlling, and they wanted someone in the studio to make sure we weren't wasting time. It's just a whole different ball game. We're adults, we know what we have to do, and Frontiers gave us our head. But the players involved on the record basically just had to be people that I'd heard, and they were local to Orlando, and I knew they were good players, and so they were invited in, and they all did their parts, and they were incredible.
Excellent.
Incredible players.
Now, do you have a history with Frontiers?
Well, it's my first record in 13 years, so I don't think Frontiers Records was even around when I stopped making records. So it was just nice to be involved with a fresh, young label who are still flying the flag for people that can write melodic songs,
Right. Yes, I did have the pleasure of hearing Circus Bar. It is quite melodic.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not one for being a heavy metal artist. I'm not a death metal thrash god. I like tunes. I like to have a song you can whistle. I like songs that are catchy, and that sometimes puts me in the area of what is called pop.
Right.
But I don't care, because pop is short for the word popular, and I want to be popular.
I found myself singing along on first listen because it was catchy.
Oh, cool. Well, that's my job done then. So as long as you're whistling and singing along,
Absolutely.
my job's done.
Well done.